Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Amazing Outdoors. This podcast is being presented by Upland Outfitters, home of the Relentless pants, man. Those things are awesome. I had them out this week, and I pretty much, since I started the partnership with Jason, have been wearing those pants out anytime over the summer here where I had to do any work at the farm or dog training. I've even had them on the boat a little bit. They are tough as nails. I have yet to see a pull 'em thread. I've been in some nasty briars. They really held up a lot better than I thought. I can't recommend them enough. Hunting season is around the corner. Make sure you use discount code AMAZING, and I believe Jason is still offering 20% off on the Relentless pants. So pick up a pair before hunting season is upon us, and you're out in the woods with a pair of ripped up pair of pants and sweating, unnecessarily, because Jason's pants and the Relentless pants are top notch and breathable, light. So you're going to want them this early season. Make sure you get them now. I also have a quick announcement. We've got another kind of temporary partnership with Chippewa River Custom Rods. Tom is going to be offering 10% off with discount code AMAZING10. AMAZING10. And it's all caps. If you decide to call him for a custom rod, just make sure you tell him that you heard about custom rods on Amazing Outdoors podcast, and he will make sure that you get hooked up with a discount. All that information for both sponsors and partners are going to be in the show notes, so please support the podcast and these great companies. They are really good partners for the podcast, and I would like to see our listeners support them as well. So look them up, Uplnd Outfitters and Chippewa River Custom Rods. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Amazing Outdoors podcast. This is your host, or the host, Brian Mays. Today I sit down for a chat with the Hunt Redi crew, a couple guys making an American-made hunting vest for upland game birds. They've got a neat story, cool guys, resonated well with the podcast and my personal mission of American Made and supporting those companies. Enjoy today's episode. Rock on. So how you guys doing?
Good, man. I'm down in Gulf Shores at the beach, dude. I'm doing pretty good.
Vacation, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm I'm not doing as good as Heath, but I decided to take my vacation last week in the Gulf as well. So I should be more refreshed, but now the week has got the better of me. So I'm feeling like I need to meet up with Heath again.
You doing any fishing down there?
No, I'm with my wife and 2 daughters, and it's more of a I'm taking them on a vacation, and the fishing would be solely for me. So I wish, man. I do like to deep sea fish, but not this trip.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same boat. I family vacation, and it was more about wrangling kids than much of anything else. So it's still fun nonetheless.
I got to get brownie points built up, dude, for hunting season. Like that's,
Absolutely, man. Any way you can. I know I've put in a few of those weekends myself. So anyways, well, let's give a little introduction to the podcast. We know each other a little bit more than some of the other guests. We tried to make something work here a little earlier this year. Pesky software test I was doing didn't work out so well. But anyway, Jared or Heath, do you want to give a little introduction to our guests and as to who you guys are and what company you guys have kind of started over the last year here?
Yeah. So my name's Heath Sainer. I'm one of the founders for Hunt Redi, which is an Upland gear company. Jared and I have been best buds for a long time since elementary school. And over the years, life happens, marriage, kids, and careers, and all of that. And the one thing that we've always kind of been able to reconnect for is hunting and hunting trips, and or at least outdoors activities. And we just got to the place where through our hunts and stuff like that, we started talking about gear and all of that, and one thing led to another, and we launched an Upland vest and working on a few other things, but so that's kind of my short intro on how we got here.
Yeah, and my name's Jared Stewart, the other founder of Hunt Redi, and like Keith said, we're just a couple of buddies from way back that started this company, and just excited to kind of be on this journey, and just introducing some great gear into the Upland community.
Right on, man. I mean, I know you guys have a very strong Instagram presence, and there's a little bit more behind the Hunt Redi too. The message, if I'm mistaken, please tell me so. But Heath, if I remember chatting earlier, there's a little bit more to it as well.
Yeah,
it's got a message to send, at least.
Yeah, we one of the things that just through the various outdoor activities that Jared and I participate in, from big game to waterfowl to upland to hiking, camping, kayaking, all that kind of stuff. There was just it just seemed to be a gap in terms of what was available in the upland from a gear perspective. It just really was uninspired, by the gear choices that we had at the time, and so we set out, to see what we could do, and one of the things that was very important to us from the get-go was we wanted made in America gear. Felt like a couple of things. One, it's just the right thing to do. Number two, we felt like we could get higher quality gear. We'd have more control or more, hands-on, if you will, right, in terms of manufacturing and all of that. And in doing that, we wanted to inspire people, right, to to take up the passions that we have and share that with folks. Encourage next generation. That's another big thing that I feel like we really want to try and do. And the Redi part of our name is an acronym for Reliable Equipment Driving Inspiration in the Outdoors. So Redi is really what we're about, and so we have fully sourced, handmade in the U.S. Gear. And then if you mentioned the Instagram and just our brand, you'll find that we try to really not focus our brand on the grip and grin style, which again, not against that. That's each brand is their own brand, and certainly you'll see some birds and some ducks and some white-tailed in the feed, but it's a lot of those other things that happen throughout a season that we want to share with folks and encourage them to get out and make memories in the outdoors. So for me, that's really my answer, and what I feel like Hunt Redi's mission is to provide very solid gear that's made in the U.S. and inspire folks to get out there and make it happen, right? And if we can help in terms of providing some gear, great. If not, get out there anyway, and make it happen. So that's my perspective, Steve. I don't know if you have a
No, obviously you touched on all the big points. I think just to kind of reiterate, inspiring, that's what we're about. We talked about next generation, how important that is. Somebody at some point, hopefully, I know there's probably some use cases where somebody may have jumped off into a new journey, adventure, solely on their own. But I think a lot of passions that I have today, they were introduced to me either by a family member or a friend or something like that. So just, again, inspiring something to get out, people that haven't tried it, get out there and try something new, just try to, cement hunting in general and specifically upland hunting for the future generations and make sure we're doing our part.
You guys are selling my podcast, Yeah. And that's really kind of why I kind of gravitated to you guys, because you had a made in America story, plus your values were really resonating in a fashion that was so similar to what I was trying to do with inspiring people to the next generation is so important in the conversation. And I think a lot of times we're speaking in an echo chamber, and if we can just inspire that one person from to you guys to upland hunting. But for me, just being able to, to get somebody that musky fish is introduced into bird hunting because of the feathers or the fly tying aspect to it. There's a connection there, and, trying to build on those, somebody's got a motorcycle.
Yeah, apologies. Somebody's in the neighborhood decided to rip it up on me. So plastic.
we might have a little bit of that here too. I got some dogs that are going nuts because I was fishing all day yesterday, and yeah, it's summertime, man. Everybody's out and about.
Yeah. People are definitely out in full force right now after 2020. It's like no holding back. If you got a motorcycle or a fancy car or something, it's like we're seeing it getting used like no other. So it's good. It's good to see kind of getting back to normal, which is I'm sure most listeners can super appreciate now after going through a year like 2020.
Yeah, it's especially if you live in a more populous area. It was kind of funny during the season. I'd go kind of all over the place last year, and you'd end up in some of these small towns. It was like there was nothing going. Like, hey, did anybody hear there was a pandemic supposedly? But yeah, for a lot of, at least here in our larger metro area, there's a resemblance of some normalcy with people, and I think for most people that's that's a sigh of relief, at least at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hell, you guys are going to the golf. I kind of passed on my Florida trips this year and kind of lull of trying to start a few different business endeavors and not having a bunch of time like I usually, at least vacation time to burn. If I took time off now, it was on my own dime. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get my salt air this year, which I'm hoping I'm going to maybe be able to convince the wife to go down for Christmas or something. So we'll see. Bird season's coming up, and I'm going to be really busy. So anyways, what you guys have a vest, and I know it's configurable, U.S. made. Is there anything else you want to have the listeners kind of know about you guys before we kind of maybe go down a few different rabbit holes here?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the gear itself, so we were fortunate enough that after a few years of cold calling and following up on leads and trying to find a partner to help us build what we kind of had envisioned or dreamed up, right? We found a company actually in Missouri, which is where I'm based, called First Spear. And they make gear for the special forces, law enforcement agencies, military organizations around the globe, actually. And they have a patented system that is very highly configurable. And it's also backwards compatible with a lot of the military and law enforcement tactical gear type of systems. Molly or PALS webbing. A lot of folks have heard of that. And so, our platform really enables a lot of configuration and a lot of personalization to meet the needs of a lot of different people, and their likes and dislikes. One of the things that when we were prototyping gear and prototyping accessories and doing market research, you ask 5 guys, you might get 4 answers, or you ask, 4 women that upland hunt, you might get, 3 or 4 different answers in terms of, well, I like Velcro, or I like buttons, or I like magnets, or I like, I like zippers, etc. And so one of the powerful things about the platform is that, you have a base vest that we spent a lot of iterations designing, to get it dialed in for comfort, for weight distribution, balance, etc. And from there, you can, add a zipper pouch or a pouch with Velcro or a pouch with this or that, right? So you can really set it up and dial it in for your own personal preferences. And I think that's one of the things that, sets us apart. In the technology that we were able to use and leverage with that partnership with First Spear. So outside of that, as we continue to roll out new gear and expand, the product roadmap, all of our accessories will be interchangeable, right? So, not to give too much away, but if we come out with something else, then those pockets and pouches can be leveraged on the Upland, or the Upland system could be leveraged then on the new gear, and et cetera. So, anyway, so that's kind of, I think, one of the value adds that we provide in our platform.
Well, and I don't want to poke and prod too much, but, maybe Jared, you can field this question. Your system is kind of built not like a traditional Upland vest. I think of my Filson vest, and it's 2 straps and 2 shell bags and a bag in the back, and maybe if the water bottle holder's still there, it's still there, but it's very basic, and it sits on it's not comfortable if you're carrying a bunch of water, a bunch of gear for a long hike during the early season. A lot of our hunting up here is done in shorter kind of 40, 80, 120 acre kind of clips we'll get in. So we're not doing the long prairie chicken or sage grouse kind of hunts that you might see in the early season. And it lacks some flexibility there. And I think with your system, it's kind of built more like what people would think of as a kind of like a hiking backpack. With
I think
a much better belt system that kind of loads the weight on your hips, if looking at it correctly. I haven't bought one yet. I'm going to before sage grouse season opens. But anyways, yeah, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, no, I think, that was definitely one of the design intentions is to get that weight distributed across the belt. When you set the thing up and get it on your hips where it needs to be at, I mean, it's supporting that weight. So it's much like kind of like a hiking backpack, if you will. And anybody that's, I'm not going to, profess to be a professional hiker or anything, but, you get your pack loaded up, at, 30 pounds, 35 pounds. Some hikers are like ultralight guys out there, but I think about the best I can do is about 35 pounds and actually make it for a few days. But you get on that, you get that kind of that trailhead and you start marching upwards to base camp. You just notice something real quick. And if you don't have that pack fitted to your right and you're at elevation, you're going to feel it in a hurry. And so a lot of the things that we had just noticed with previous units that we have had through the years was, man, like all the weight's on my shoulders. It's just, you get, a South Dakota limit of pheasants and it's a pretty good sized birds and, you're done, but maybe the rest of the guys in the group aren't done. And you're just trucking along through some pretty good runs of cattail sloughs or whatever it is. And, your shoulders you feel it after a long day of hunting, and so we wanted to get that weight, across the hip and really bearing that. And then, Heath was talking about the weight distribution, just kind of setting that up, getting that core, base of the vest set up really good. We have distribution and then the yoke or the harness, it's really there kind of more as a support as not from a weight standpoint, but more just to kind of hold, the vest where, the burr pouches in an upright position. And, if you have it all set up right, the torso length, there's a lot of adjustment in it. I mean, it's designed just to fit kind of all shapes and sizes, if you will. Really, from a sizing aspect, you just got to get the belt right, but then the rest of the pack, it adjusts up or down based on your torso length. And so yeah, you shouldn't, if you're coming out of the field and your shoulders are getting tired, it's probably you don't have the belt cinched up, properly across those hips, and probably just needs a little bit of adjustment. And it just makes all the difference in the world is what we found. And to your point with the, early season, hot, needing to carry a lot of water, whatever for dogs, running multiple dogs, you have that capability. You're not just locked into the two water bottle holders. You can run water bottle holders across the back panel if you want to. You can put a hydration bladder in it. However you like to do it, just that flexibility. But as you add water, you're adding weight. So it just, as you scale up, obviously that support of that weight is critical. But then it also gives you the options like, okay, I'm kind of just more to run and gun, driving from field to field. I just need a light pack, the bare minimum. You can basically strip it down and make it kind of an ultralight setup too.
Yeah, that's a really rad setup. I hit I'm not the greatest shot on some days, so it's not really the birds that are in the back of the vest. It's the fact that I'm carrying around 2 boxes of shells with me.
Well, that too. Yeah, I'll join you on that one. So I like to have plenty of shells just in case.
I've never run out in the field.
That's the cool thing about the technology that we're leveraging is, like I said earlier, it's a patented system that First Spear came up with, and they use it for manufacturing of military and law enforcement gear. But our pack, with a couple of shell holders, a couple of pockets, right, and a couple of water bottle holders, is right about 3.25 pounds, 3.3 pounds dry. Now you start adding water and shells and all that, right? But the reality is, every ounce, right, that you can shave off and not give up quality, durability, configurability, right, the things that we feel like are important, right, for Uplanders. It just makes your day, that, every step you take is, less weight, right? So starting at 3.25 pounds, it's also a lightweight unit to get you started. So you start throwing shells in and everything. Like Jared said, it just makes you, the days in the field just more enjoyable, right? I mean, you're not burnt at the end of the day and the next day, or you go 3-4 days in a row. It adds up, makes a difference. So,
big time, yeah.
We feel like, yeah.
As I age, man, I had blew my knee out in high school football, so I had ACL reconstruction, and it was a pretty good surgery. I mean, it's still good, but man, I feel it when you carry.
None of us are getting younger.
Yeah, especially like out west carrying a big pack.
Right.
You said 35 pounds. I'm going, man, I wish I could get down to that. But when you start adding hunting gear and everything else in there, it's like I shoot for 40 pounds and you're huffing around chasing elk doing that, man. It's, you'll feel it. And, so the same concept translates. And I've had days in Kansas where, I got my Philskin coat on and, there are going to be days where, I'm probably not going to find anything that's going to cut the wind just as nice as that. But, you get off the field and it's like 10 pounds it's just in a jacket. And it takes its toll on you. I mean, no doubt it does. So I'm especially in the early season, there just isn't something that I think fits the niche for especially like some of these out west hunters, chucker hunting and all that. They carry a lot of water and there's a lot of gear and safety, I mean, some of these guys carry whole safety kits, first aid kits with them. A lot of stuff goes into those packs and, that's a lot of weight to carry around. So you have to have a good distribution system. And I was really impressed by what I saw here with you guys. So.
Well, thank you.
So anyways, how you guys are down in Heath, you're in Missouri and Jared, you're in Oklahoma, if I recall, right?
Yeah. I tell people, I was, raised in Missouri with Heath, but then chased a woman to Oklahoma. So here I am.
There's nothing wrong with either one of those states, man. They're both pretty states.
Yeah, no, I'm in Southwest Missouri, born and raised, and typical farm boy. Just grew up on the farm, working and hunting and fishing, and that's went to college, came back home, got a job, just the normal stuff. But it's not a bad place. I mean, we got a lot of good spots to fish and kayak and hunt during the season. We still have a few bob whites around. And then I'm in Southwest Missouri, so Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa aren't that far. So we spent some time chasing birds in all those states as well.
How's whistle counts? Did DNR's publish whistle counts from this spring already?
Not in my area. There's just not enough birds left. I just growing up on the farm, still kind of know where coveys are. So not around here. I wouldn't know what the numbers are personally.
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't actually heard either. I mean, typically Western Oklahoma will tell us that kind of stuff, but yeah, I haven't actually looked into it. I think I'm so focused on September and hitting some of these new states that not that the good old motherland's not going to provide late season, but I'm just kind of focused on kind of some new venture right now in some of these other states we're planning on hitting. So,
weren't you guys going chucker hunting or something?
We're heading north and west we're going to hit a few states probably North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, on a loop. So hoping to get into sharp-tailed grouse, hopefully some hunt. We could find some chukar country, would love to, and then sage grouse on the way out, on the loop back.
What dates are you guys going? Because I'm doing kind of the same thing, and my brother lives out in Colorado, and he's having a baby in September, so I'm kind of planning on hitting opening day September 1 and kind of moseying my way from North Dakota down to Colorado, and I've been kind of eyeing up some of the rains, and I don't know, I'm kind of hemming and hawing on a lot to do. I'll tell you that it's not looking really good in some of the areas I was looking at.
Yeah, the rain is it's tough right now, man. In those states, and I think we have some of the same anxieties, if you will. But a lot can change between now and then, and on some level, about the adventure,
Well, we'll definitely have to try to hook up for a couple days, because I have a feeling if you're going to be out there in the earlier part of September at all, I got to be back. That's my little issue with Wyoming and the sage grouse season. I haven't looked yet. Did you see if the dates were announced?
Yeah, dates are out, man.
Are they?
For Wyoming.
Yeah. Do you know what they are?
I do not off the top of my head. I know it's here. I'll just look it up while we're.
And you guys don't have to hotspot anything. I'm not looking to do any of that either. But yeah, I've been kind of eyeing that North Dakota South or Montana line, and it's just like, man, they're almost as dry as we've been. We finally got a little rain here. Has it been that dry down by you guys?
No, it's been an amazing spring here, honestly. It's kind of interesting because I was actually just thinking about that today. I was watching reading up on some rainfall reports and stuff. I have a brother that lives in Eastern Washington, and was chatting with him, and that whole stretch up there, right, from Washington State all the way across, is basically kind of like what Jared and I would be used to in Oklahoma and Southwest Missouri, and it's like it's flip-flopped. It's crazy. I don't know. So it's been, I kind of hate to say it, but it's been really nice where we're at, man, because I know you guys are dealing with it.
Yeah, it's been mediocre here. We got some decent rain early in the spring, and then we kind of hit this drought period. We've been kind of right on the, I would say, eastern fringe of kind of the drought. There's some pockets in the Dakotas that have gotten some good rains, but man, when you look at the big map of things, it does not look real good.
And so, I mean, I know you're big into like the rough grouse community and woodcock and stuff like that, right? How much do you feel like it's going to affect that season for you guys?
As we go into the fall, if we, in Wisconsin for sure, they've gotten enough rain in the North Woods that it really, we've got enough cover, and this is one of these big arguments especially with rough grouse and woodcock, especially, and when you look at Wisconsin and Minnesota and parts of Michigan, in comparison to some of the other states that are getting kind of more of the hot spotting on, like, hey, we need to take consideration here. We're having drastic declines in, grouse populations because of West Nile and all these other issues. A lot of it comes down to how much good quality cover we have here. We've got county forests that are managed and cut to make money. That the whole purpose of owning that county forest is to turn a profit on it. And most of that that county forest paper company land, which is these, soft kind of timber wood, the aspen stands that grouse really like. And so there's a ton of cover here, which we kind of waffle and wane a little bit. And we've had some bigger swings, but a lot of that West Nile, historically hasn't had an issue. Now, one of the bigger issues we have right now is the DNR with COVID up here didn't do anything really last year from a survey standpoint. So there's no gauge in the kind of 10-year cycles that rough grouse go through. Now, woodcock, if there's water around, when they migrate through, there's some local birds, but a lot of the birds come down from the waters north of the United States, up in Canada and far, far north in Wisconsin. And there's a lot of marshy areas up there. We're doing okay. This year they did see a 6% decline, I guess, in drumming counts this spring. They didn't have anything from last year. They are doing some West Nile survey kits for hunters, so I'm going to participate in that this fall. So we'll get some more information. I've got a podcast probably coming up in August with the gal who's responsible for the wildlife ecologist for rough grouse in the state of Wisconsin. So yeah, but man, you guys want to come up, I can guarantee you we can put you on a lot of birds. We just have so much good cover up here, man. And if you're willing to get out there and look for it, you'll find it up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting you say that about the cover. At least in my area, from a bobwhite perspective, it all boils down to that. I mean, you hear things about hawks or predators or, different things. And the bottom line is, if you can find the good cover, you can find quail still, but there's just a lot less habitat than there used to be, at least in my area,
Well, I think the more that generally in most of bobwhite quail range, that's just been the kind of compounding factor over the years. And you are right with the cover thing, but to add, you mentioned predators and they go through cycles as well. I was down fly fishing this winter in southern Minnesota. I was on this one creek bed. I walked past, I swear, 7 or 8 different hawks that had died this winter because they couldn't get any food. So, and they had great roadside, even that area has bobwhite quail and they have whistle counts down there this spring. So, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, these predators aren't really the big issue. It's the cover.
I think so. The more that we hunt, in different states and different regions of different states, it just seems to me like, even from year to year, right? I mean, we like I said, living in Southwest Missouri, I hit a lot of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, just because it's handy, right? It's close. And from year to year, if the cover is good or bad, that you'll find birds or you won't. And I don't think that the predators and all of that they're not, those numbers aren't skyrocketing and then dropping like crazy every year, right? So you got to assume there's a relative constance, of that, relatively speaking. It's just been interesting, right? The more time you spend in the field, what you kind of just start to notice, right, as a hunter. So yeah, that's awesome that you guys have recurring cover like that and solid habitat. And let's hope, for the sake of not only our hunting time left, but future generations, that it stays that way, right?
Oh, absolutely. I will say, it's not all grand and glory up here with certain things. We still have our issues. I just got some numbers today from the Wisconsin Sharp-tailed Grouse Society. And sharp-tails up here are kind of a unique and kind of almost an anomaly, but they do have an historic range here. They were here before it was settled. And then when it was settled, they kind of boomed. And then as we have settled and kind of packed things in and broke up sections into 40s and 20s and 10s and 5-acre parcels now, the sharptails don't have anywhere to go. They're down the lekking numbers for males visiting the leks up there and where their range is. They're down like 20% this year. So it's very unlikely that we're going to have a sharptail season in Wisconsin anytime soon. So there's and that boils down to habitat too. So it is a really, it's a balance. And I've kind of come to this as a hunter, and, some people might not like the podcast and absolutely curse me because of this, but I have a love-hate relationship with pheasants when you start considering some of these native bird species. And all the focus that Pheasants Forever generates and everything, it takes it off the native birds, and they're doing great things. And if we didn't have them, gosh, what would life be? They've done a ton to both promote and preserve places to hunt. But what if, Pheasants Forever had never taken on Pheasants Forever and they were just quail forever? Would we see more quail around today? Would there be a more impact on some of these native game birds? And, I love pheasants, don't get me wrong. But again, it's a little bit of a something that's rolling around in my head that just doesn't seem right. And I'm not afraid to talk about it. And I think, a lot of people, love pheasants too. And it's just one of these things that it's the bird that a lot of people first went out to the uplands to chase and have a lot of memories. And, I don't know how we shift that to kind of change the dynamic with some of this cover for some of these other game birds, because row crop and all the trajectory of farming just isn't helping. It's just compounding big time. So I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I don't know, that's interesting.
You guys love pheasants too much to call out Pheasants Forever for taking the limelight off of Bob White's, or
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I certainly enjoy chasing pheasants, and I love to see a young pointing dog, get confused and, on running roosters and stuff like that, and try and see them figure it all out. But I hear what you're saying, and there, some of the other birds, they certainly do have, their own organizations, right? But you mentioned sharp-tailed grouse, and there are others, and I don't know that we can, cover them all here, but what organizations are there for them, right? I mean, on some level, right? You can't blame Pheasants Forever for doing too good of a job. It's like you almost got to think, where are the other organizations?
Yeah, and I don't even mean to call out Pheasants Forever. It's kind of it's a value that's assigned, and I've had this conversation with a few other guests on the podcast. A lot of states have pheasant stamps or whatever. You have to buy a small game license. Duck hunting, you got to buy a federal duck stamp, and then all of that money that's then gone into waterfowl hunting. You look at the boom there, and the parallels are kind of different trajectories. And I think down in Missouri, what is your, how much it cost you to go out and shoot some bobwhite?
Just for a
small game
like
license.
in-state, resident. Yeah, I mean, you're talking $10-15 maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, nobody cares about bobwhite because it only costs $10-15. So it's an interesting paradigm. Like we kind of have that a little bit with rough grouse too, but Rough Grouse Society has done such a good job on the national scale, and rough grouse have kind of a big range as well in comparison to some of these other birds. So anyways, I don't mean to cut you off there.
No, I just, you caused me to think about it here. And, you think about what the federal duck stamp has done, right? And I'm sure there's some folks that, there's some things that they disagree with or whatever. And I understand that, right? But to your point, like, it's been a massive turnaround, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I've done a little research on this. I might be, trying to get an article in a few different places, but it's a very interesting paradigm when you start digging into how the funding mechanisms have worked and kind of how the Migratory Bird Treaty Act kind of helped project all of this conservation off of, the market hunting era, and upland game birds were kind of left out of that funding mechanism, and they've kind of gone to the wayside.
Yeah.
outside of pheasants, which is kind of that organization that I don't mean to call out on, but hey, they've sucked up all the limelight in this, and I think a lot of these other organizations like the Sage Grouse Initiative, Wisconsin Sharp-tailed Grouse, Minnesota Sharp-tailed Grouse, they're all little state agencies, and there isn't kind of that. You don't have the National Fish and Wildlife Services kind of helping bridge those gaps like you do in kind of the waterfowl scenario.
Yeah, it's almost like the upland community needs to call to arms, right, and to rally together, right? Because I think that's really the key, right? I mean, if you step back and just think about it, the waterfowl community, and I don't know the history there, per se, but they were able to, at a federal level, rally, right? And it's created a significant boom there, to your point. I don't know, it's something for us to at least chew on, right, as a community.
Well, I can tell you right now, a couple boys down in your neck of the woods, they kind of inspired me to dig down that rabbit hole. So you might want to talk to, Kyle or Frank.
Yeah, no, I know those guys. Good guys too.
Super good guys. No, they know their stuff about birds, and they kind of introduced me to a few things while I was kind of rolling around on a lot of this stuff with all these different groups that are out there in the state agencies and state groups and state NGOs. And it's just it's neat. They do collaborate, but man, oh man, when you start stepping back and going, what if we had an upland game bird stamp? And, I hate to add the cost to entry to anything because I think that's a deterrent for new hunters. But, oh man, DU and all the duck hunters, they're killing it getting new hunters in. So I don't know that that's as big of an issue when you start looking at kind of how much money. I think it's like 90% goes back into habitat from the federal duck stamp. And if that kind of money was generated by the upland community, which I think it is through other ways, but it filters through those NGOs like Pheasants Forever, which they have overhead.
I'll just say from my perspective, I think you're bringing up a really good point. I don't know that I've even really sat long enough to think about it. I mean, I'm still trying to, figure out how to raise 3 kids to some level. So
oh man, you don't get lost when you're driving all the way out to Wyoming. And I mean, that's how this all started for me. It was right, down to Kansas, man. I'm like going, man, how many birds used to be in that cornfield there,
Sure. No, but I do think, that's an interesting take on, the upland stamp or something like that. Just because I'm, sure we all have our species and the things that are kind of near dear heart, but I think it's just about, conservation and preservation at the end of the day, and going back to what we originally stated, just, next generation, making sure something's there for your kids. Cause, we've all heard, at least in this neck of the woods, like, our fathers and then grandfathers and, uncles and whoever else, specifically to Heath's point, talk about the quail numbers. That just used to flourish here. You could it was no big deal, and now you hardly ever see them. And then, but then also it's like, the ugly side of it is, from a non-hunter's perspective is, what has that highest return on investment for people too, when you start looking at, what it takes to get people's land into some of these land programs and things like that. I mean, there's a real dollar that's got to be spent on that kind of stuff. And so for me personally, I wouldn't mind spending money on something like that if that goes towards the greater habitat for the good of all at that point. But, that's a good point or perspective. And, yeah, that's an interesting take for sure.
Yeah. And again, I'm very much to lowering costs. I mean, everything costs more these days, but when you start looking and considering the funding mechanism that could be there, and then you really look at the kind of the outcome that 100 years of this funding mechanism has had for waterfowl from nothing. Mm-hmm. We see this in, fish and I mean, my uncle and family, they live down in my dad lives on the Gulf and my uncle is on the Atlantic down in Florida. And, I've heard for 30 years, oh yeah, the fishing was great here, when we first came down here. It just, I mean, everybody says that. And, not that there's any translation into the fishing, but the wildlife reduction as we continually, develop this country and the countryside specifically, there's a way we can all step up, like you said, and band together and kind of change that course. So we make sure that, there's more birds for our kids and next generation than there were when there were. I mean, somebody did it for waterfowl. So,
sure.
Yeah.
And I think the key is, a lot of people back it just as long as the funds are appropriated, properly. I mean, if you just want to, like, the analogy is like that there's a tax to everything. I mean, if you live in a state, kind of like Oklahoma, we want to charge you to drive on all the roads, coming and going. And so you're paying a tax for the highway or whatever, in addition to all the other taxes that go into it. So for me, I'm good with the idea. I love the idea. It's just, how do you set up the system to appropriate the funds properly? There's obviously a big machine and some overhead behind that. But like you said, there's kind of proof in the pudding of, this functioning well, with, waterfowl. So might be onto something there, Brian. You might be the director, the lead on this whole thing for it's all over with.
There's been a lot of people ringing this bell for a while. I'm just a guy with a microphone that's decided to maybe carry a little bit of the weight. Well, it came out of motivation too. It's like, it's part of the reason I'm going out west this fall is, I just want to get my dogs on as many different kind of birds as possible. And you just hear the stories of the prairie chickens and all the decline out there. And it's kind of like, well, what we're doing ain't working. And we're, I think too, even with the fundraising aspect of some of these NGOs like Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, I think the overhead is a turnoff for some people. They still buy a hunting license, but they don't join conservation. So, as long as the funding mechanism is there and it's done properly, I don't see why anyone would really argue with it, because it's less overhead than giving your money to the Rough Grouse Society or some of these other groups. So, it's direct dollar towards funding.
Right. And ideally, if it all works out right.
Very much an idealist conversation, might I add.
Sure. But I mean, once you get through infancy stage on through something like that, and if it proves out, then obviously people are having success in the field, and that drives more people to the field. There's you want to, if you're new to the game, at some point you want to see some birds, and so if you keep striking out, obviously there's a learning curve there, but if you keep continually striking out for the species you're chasing, how many people stick with it with a long haul, they do want to kind of see some I guess a prize at the end of the day to some degree, at least to kind of keep them coming back. I think it's a lot like golf for me. It's like that one shot that just keeps coming back. The whole rest of the round's terrible, and then I hit that one shot. I'm like, it's kind of a great game, isn't it?
But, you've got a much different perspective than I do on golf.
Well, that might be after I've thrown a few clubs and things like that too. So, in full transparency,
I carried clubs as a young man on a country club, and I played scratch golf for a little while, I guess you could say, or at least damn close to it. And then it became something I had to pay for. High school was no longer going to pay for it. The junior college was no longer going to pay for it. And it is not like riding a bike.
Right.
You have to play if you want to play good. And now it's just kind of more of a frustration because I used to play good, or at least what I thought was good. Now, hell, if I play 9 and I can break 80, I look at it as, hey, at least I had a beer on the course.
Right.
No, there's no more time for that anymore. I've dedicated my life fully to the outdoors. My golf clubs have gotten dust now for the last 2 seasons, and I don't see them coming out this year. I held nothing against you though. When I got into work, I started working for my old man, and we were a hunting and fishing family, and he said, corporate world all these years, and now I'm able to kind of take people out and do what I want to do instead of going to damn golf courses. He said, go out and find me a bunch of customers that like to fish.
Right.
So we migrated away from golf after the country club years, but no, it's probably been a nice if you guys been getting that much rain, it's probably been nice to play golf down there.
It's been very nice down here, but I'm with you though, man. Like, I think about September and I think about all of that, and I think, okay, 4 to 6 hours on a golf course, or go run my dog, set out some pigeons, like, even in the off season, you're still thinking about, I got to get my dog more steady. I've got to, so I'm with you guys. Like, I don't end up having the time either, as much as I would enjoy going to play.
Yeah, I would enjoy playing more, but yeah, I don't know. My buddy just bought a place up on one of like the TPC courses here, so maybe if he gets a free pass one of these days, I'll take advantage of that.
There you go.
I can't afford that kind of golf anyways. Right? Otherwise, I can't afford it.
Right.
That's halfway to a new shotgun, damn near.
And let me preface by saying too, that's hitting a great shot on the par 3 course. By the way, not even full on. I'm just not good at all, and never been blessed with the ability to play golf. So it's normally one of those deals, right? It's normally an invite if I do get to play, and it's not very often. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I do a lot better in the outdoors, and yeah, something hunting is always where I'm drawn to with my free time. So.
You guys ever do any muskie fishing?
Oh man, I have personally, but that was only because I took a trip to Canada where there was some, and caught a bunch of walleye up there, which is amazing because we have a few walleye around these areas, but they're nothing like those walleyes. This is just a whole other game, and then. Tried for muskie, and I've never caught one though.
So I'm gonna shamefully admit, I apparently live really close to what's supposed to be a good muskie lake, and I've never tried that. So maybe you need to come down to Missouri and visit, show me how it's done, man.
I think you guys should just come up here during the fall because the muskies turn on, and we can do a cast and blast. Go catch a muskie.
So
kill some
there you
go.
so the muskie is a fish of 1,000 casts, isn't that right?
That's what they say. Yeah. I can probably do it.
Well,
I can put you in counter with one in probably less than that.
okay, good, because I probably casted a couple thousand casts and still didn't strike pay dirt. So either I don't know what I'm doing, or I was in not an area to catch one. So.
Well, I forked out some coin this season. I was going to kind of wait till next year just because I figured I was biting off too much. But then I realized that September was a long ways away before I can actually guide some people and make some money. So I've been fishing for years for muskies on the rivers up here, and I've got a drift boat like you see out west, and for fly fishing, and so I got my guide license and all the stuff squared away, and kind of yesterday was one of the first trips of the season on this stretch of the river that I really like to fish. We moved 4 of them. The guy caught one. I had one on, lost it, and we ended up getting like a 35-inch northern, 34-inch northern. Muskie was almost 40. I think it was 39. About 20 pounds. So, yeah, I could put you boys on them if you're ever interested.
Yeah. No, I'm always interested for something like that. Try something new on for size for sure.
I'm Google Map right now to your house, so I'm making plans for the cast and blast, man.
Man, honestly, October's a great time, and even if I still do a little deer hunting, so that first week in November is a little tough for me. But the muskie fishing can be really good all the way up until it freezes, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So as soon as the leaves come down, it's kind of like, grab the rod or the dogs. And I've been running the dogs these last few years, so I'm going to try to do a little bit of both this fall and kind of cater to a little bit of both customers.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty cool option, being able to, to flip back and forth. I got to think that'll appeal to a lot of folks. I do have a question though for you. Like, what dogs do you run, man? Like, what do you? So I got what?
Yeah, I got 2 short hairs right now, and then I've got a buddy who's got a kennel, and depending on how many days and kind of the cycle I'm running, I might have a pointer or a setter with me. So I've got a lot of dogs behind me over there, and we'll see in September how many dogs I come out west with. I'm hoping he's got a couple young dogs that need some work, because I really enjoy that part of the training aspect for me, and that early part of the season is why I go, and why I want to go for an extended period of time. Is it just gives you such a unique opportunity out west with some of the bird numbers that have been there, to get some good dog work in with young dogs.
Sure. Yeah. Get them dialed in, get them fine tuned. Do you, and my understanding, I mean, I've not spent a lot of time in the grouse woods, but mainly pointers.
Yes.
Versus flushing dogs. Yeah.
And the reason in being is because your line of sight is so obstructed in the grouse woods that I would, it really depends on your flushing dog. I know plenty of people who hunt with labs and have success. I know people who hunt with dogs that aren't even, a retriever or a pointing dog, or would be considered a sporting dog even. Hell, this one guy used to show up with a freaking Jack Russell.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a kind of a rat dog or whatever it is, a small, but it just stayed close. And depending on how you hunt things, if you're trail walking and you've got a, flushing dog and it stays close, you can do just fine. But grouse are so, there's such a burst of craziness with a flush, and they're masters of kind of hiding in, can you see a covey of bobwhite quail in that sparse bush when you go kick it, I mean, it's amazing how many birds come out and you barely see any of them. But yeah, grouse just hide in that foliage so well that I've found that pointing dogs, there's just a better bird contact success than with flushing dogs. I think you cover more ground too. You know, you think you got two pointing dogs running big swaths out there versus a, flushing dog that's running 20 yards away from you. You're making 20, 30, 40, 100-yard swaths through the woods with a pointing dog versus 20 yards with a flushing dog. So you're just covering more ground. Nothing against the flushing dogs. They have a lot of different utility. And there's a lot of guys that use cockers and different stuff like that up there and have a lot of great success. It's just kind of the, Mark Fouts, who used to work for the Rough Grouse Society, kind of put it this way. He goes, they're kind of like cars, everybody gets to the supermarket, same fashion. It's just kind of, what kind of ride do you like?
Yeah. And that's what's awesome about it. Cause we hunt with so many different people and so many different breeds during a season, and everybody has their personal preference, and that's what's cool about it, right? Like, there's a dog for you, right? Whatever your personal preference might be. And so I was just curious, like, what do you see the most of, and that all makes sense.
We see a ton of setters up here. That's kind of what I think is the overwhelming. And then I would say the second is probably short hairs now. And then, we don't see a ton of pointers up here. I don't know why, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
It is kind of interesting. I really don't. I know one guy who has a pointer, and then I know a guy who breeds them, and that's it. I take that back. Mark Fouts, Rough Grouse Society, he's got 2 pointers. But he's one of the only guys I really know that has them, or at least close.
Yeah, that's interesting. We don't see very many pointers either, though, to be honest.
I think they're kind of a fading out kind of breed just because of, I don't know, people don't really view them as a house dog.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting because I've been around some that, I've been around every kind of breed. Some of them are, I wouldn't want in my house, but then I think there's just too many generalizations,
Exactly. I've been around some crazy dogs that, you would think that are not good house dogs, and they're great.
Yeah. And my cousin, he lives up in KC, suburbs, and that's all he'll own. He's got a pointer all the time, and he keeps them in the house, and they seem to do well. So, but anyway, I was just curious, man. On that,
what kind of dogs you guys got? I think you guys have a lab, right? Heath.
So, I've got a German wire hair. He's a Draught, actually. The Draught, he's a German wire hair. And then I've got a Brittany. And then my daughter has a Vizsla that she hunts with me. So those are the 3 I've got.
That's a different variety, and quite a bit of different variety.
Yeah, it is. My Brittany he's getting up there in years now. And for a number of years there, he was my duck dog and my upland dog. And I think I got fortunate there. Just that he just excelled in all of those things, because I don't think a lot of guys hunt Brittany's in the duck line and stuff, at least not anymore. And so I just, was fortunate in that. And then my Draught, I just wanted a little bit bigger dog. I still wanted a pointer. I still wanted a dog that I could take in the duck line. And I just started researching different breeds and all of that. And with that wire hair coat, a little bit bigger, it just, fit my bill. And then my daughter, she that was her choice. I mean, she did her research, and she went with me to Pheasant Fest a few times, and went down the dog aisle and fed all the different breeds, and for whatever reason, her heart is set on the Vizsla, and they're great together. He's super sweet. They call him Velcro dogs, right? And he certainly is. Like, he loves his people. And he's been great in the house and all that. Very biddable. So it's been a good fit, for her. So that's my story on my breeds.
Yeah, I'm been a lab guy for most of my life, and got a little yellow British lab right now, and then he's just turned 2, and then I got a German short hair that's about a year and 5 months now, 6 months, somewhere in there. And so I kind of like the whole idea that it's starting to come to fruition now. We saw some real good glimpses of it at the end of last season with both of them. Hunt and Quill having that nice pretty point, and send that lab in to bust them up, and getting, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about that. Just the whole setup just super appealing to me, and both of them they're great in the house, and they're the best of buds, and they're just a good pair together. So that's kind of how we're rolling right now. But I think I'm kind of in the same boat, just a dog lover, and more dog breeds I run into. There's something so unique about every breed. I'm like, man, I like that dog breed. Maybe I'll get one of those next. And then you come across another one. It's like, man, I want to try out all these, but then time, money, and food bill won't allow that. So you kind of settle in on a few that you like, at least for the here and now, for the season of life that I'm in.
Yeah, I definitely want to try that pointer flusher combo at some point in the future. It's something that, especially like quail hunting and some of the really thick, nasty stuff that we get into, I know for certain dogs go on point and they're not going in it. We can't get them out of there. So having that dog around, I know for certain instances, is almost clutch. And I don't have that card in my deck right now, or I don't have that trick in my pocket. But at some point in the future, I know it will. But yeah, we're kind of limited here in our transition period between suburb life and country life, that I'm maxed out right now on dogs I can have at home.
Totally get it.
I think a pointer and maybe a flushing dog would probably be in order if I had more space.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
So September.
Do you waterfowl? Did you waterfowl much, man?
I used to. I grew up over in eastern Wisconsin, and we had some really good access to stuff around the Bay of Green Bay, and then we had some friends that had like float boats and stuff. So we used to shoot a lot of diver ducks, and and then I did a little bit of like pheasant and duck hunting out west. But I don't know, between deer hunting and then bird hunting in the fall, it's just one of those things that I never, and I also really don't like being cold and wet.
Well, yeah, the waterfowl's out.
Yeah, so it just, we used to do a lot of field hunting for geese and stuff like that, and I love that. And but yeah, it's just what time, money, and life, got in the way of being able to pursue more waterfall hunting. I know a lot of people who are very much into it. It's just I've got the guns, I've got the decoys, but I don't have the time.
Yeah, I hear you. You gotta pick and choose on those things. We just have quite a bit of waterfowling in the Midwest, right? In our area of the Midwest, I'll say it that way. And so
you guys snow.
I think that's why. I have not. Mainly duck hunting is what I end up doing. I was just going to say that's why I think we end up seeing more of like the labs and the versatile breeds, in guys that can upland hunt in the morning and then, or duck hunt in the morning and then, I've done it multiple times, man. Shot some ducks in the morning and then loaded up, drove an hour and, chased quail. So, it's certain breeds. I don't want to say, not, there's lots of breeds that can do it, but there are some that, seem to excel. So it seems like that's what we see more of.
Yeah. And I know some guys that have short hairs that, do the duck hunting thing. I know a guy who's got a drop who does some duck hunting, and, it's something that, I just kind of gave up on.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. Certainly.
Duck hunting season isn't open that long before bird hunting season is open, especially when you consider like rough grouse season. It opens September 15th-ish up here. So there's no, outside of early goose hunting, when we get let loose on that. It's secondary up here now for me.
Yeah. See, my zone in Missouri opens Thanksgiving Day
for bird hunting.
Duck hunting. So, like, man, I've been upland hunting for 2.5-3 months already.
Sure.
So for me, it's kind of like I'm looking forward to it. By the time it gets here, it's changing it up. So.
Yeah, I think our early goose season starts up here September 1st, and then there's an early like teal and woodcock season or wood duck season, and then I think the regular season opens up. Northern zones like right around the end of September, and then maybe the second weekend of October, southern zones open. So it's fairly early up here, and pheasant openers right around the same time that duck opener is. So
yeah,
it's a big challenge, and then from there, the deer hunting gets really good for a couple weeks. So it's a big challenge in the fall I've had to put down a lot of different hobbies to manage my fall. So did you ever look up those sage grouse dates?
Yeah. So Wyoming is, well, there's different areas, right?
Yeah.
But I think generally speaking, mid-September.
Okay.
So like September 15th-ish, depending upon the zones, and then certain zones are only open for a very small window, and then other zones are open, longer, etc.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to hit the tail end of that because I think I drew a bear tag up here in Wisconsin, and it takes like 5-6 years to get a tag for my zone, so I have to punch the tag. We have a lot of bears by us, but
sweet, man, good luck.
Yeah, it should be fun. We took one out of there last year. We should have taken another one, but it's a whole nother story. But yeah, that tag opens up around like September 16th for me, and I'm okay if I'm not there opening day, but I think the season ends early October, so I got to kind of get it in before grouse hunting really ramps up. So yeah, I get squeezed on the tail end of September here this year. So I'm trying to hit Wyoming kind of on the way back from potentially Colorado.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And my big variable too is when is the baby coming with my brother? Because I can't swing 2 weeks out there and then miss the whole, at least a day seeing the baby because my wife will hang me if I don't go down there. You went hunting and didn't go see the baby. No, she won't hang me, but yeah, she wouldn't be very happy with me. I'll put it that way. So yeah, I'm going to try to take off around September 1st, hunting a little bit in North Dakota and Montana, and Colorado's got a sage grouse season, and I might try to bite that off a little bit earlier and then swing back through Wyoming to kind of hit the sage grouse season on the tail end.
Yeah, well, good luck, man.
All depends on where I find birds, man. You know, that can change within 5 hours of being on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. People, ask all the time, like, well, where are you going to be? Like, well, if we have kind of a rough plan, but if we start getting to a bunch of birds in a certain area, we might not leave that area for a while.
I've got information. I have to go verify it with my boots. And once I know that, I will figure out where I'm going to pitch a tent and try to, base camp for a few days. And I'm going to migrate from there. So I can't tell you. Exactly. Just for me.
It's all in the adventure, man.
Yeah. And I've done so much planning on these trips over the years. And you might as well throw it out the window on day 2 because you're planning something that you honestly really have to put your boots on the ground in order to really see and benefit from all that planning. And sometimes you have to be willing to throw the plan out and rewrite it while you're on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll have to chat here as it gets a little closer and try to hook up this season.
Yeah.
You guys going to be out there a little bit in before Wyoming opens?
Yeah. We should be we'll be heading out the first, second week of September and then be out for a while. So
right on.
We'll be in that region. I'll put it that way.
Well, I might have have some info for you.
Yeah. Stay in touch, please. Give us any coordinates.
You might have to share a field with me for a little bit of that. But
no worries, man. All good, and that I enjoy hunting with new people, and it's funny. I just seem like I learned something from everybody, just a little, even if it's just little things, like I never thought about using that for that, or I'm saying everybody has their own little.
Got to have your mind
thing,
open, though. So many
pretty
people.
Cool, yeah.
They go through life with the blinders on, and they don't realize that. You can learn something from any situation as long as you're willing to learn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just all the people that's the one thing, and I say this quite a bit, but the one thing about starting this little venture, right? Hunt Redi, and we were thinking about gear and how would we use it, and how would this resonate with the market, would everybody understand, would they appreciate the value, blah blah blah, right? The business side of it, right? Man, the one thing that I never really just took time to consider, I guess, is just how many cool people we were going to meet and get to hunt with, and, share fields with. And I'm telling you, man, it's been humbling and a big blessing for me on a personal level. And my daughter's, gets to go with me and a lot. And she's met a lot of these folks, and I've got guys that I met because they bought a vest, and then we ended up connecting in a field, and they'll text me and just say, hey, has your daughter, was she able to bag her first whatever yet, or I don't know, I just letting her see that side of hunting and the human side, and that there's good people out there, and I don't know, man, that's been a, I don't know, it's a lot more than a silver lining, right, to a business. I think that's just sometimes the real wins are the things you never expected. I'll just say it that way.
I don't know, Jared, you got anything to add on that? Because I really couldn't say it much better, other than that's kind of exactly how it's all kind of translated out for me, is really the people that I've met through this endeavor. It's been amazing. It's, the amazing outdoors. It's kind of meet a bunch of people, and I've yet to be really disappointed with the people I've met in the community.
Yeah, no, I think, the way he says it, he's spot on, and that has been kind of the overwhelming, portion of this whole deal, is just this vest in a lot of ways, as our product, first product launched to market was, honestly just an excuse in some ways for our worlds to collide. And I think that has been kind of the cool thing. People that we would have never ever met otherwise, you know, people all across, you know, the nation. And now it's like, man, we're hanging out, we're exchanging, you know, back and forth information. I mean, guys that I'm hunting with regularly in my own backyard, quite honestly, have now become kind of part of just my local regular guys that are going and hitting fields. And it's just like, you know, would have never happened had this not all kind of come to fruition. And it's been amazing. So yeah, to Heath's point, just, I think with, you know, it's good for people just in general. There's, you know, the world's got a lot of crazy stuff going on, but there's a lot of great people out there, a lot of great relationships to have. And, you know, just like any other strong community, you know, get like-minded people together and, you know, you're bound to just, you know, have a good time and experience, you know, life and a much better fashion, you know, just doing it together, you know, with people. So anyways, it's been amazing. Honestly, I echo what he's saying. Totally floored by it all.
Right on, man. You guys are kind of speaking my level because it's been kind of the same experience for me. It's been both humbling, but, you know, just absolutely inspiring every day to get up and do something different and conversate with new people because everybody's been wonderful. So I guess in wrap up here, I need to get a vest. How's your supply chain going? And if one of the listeners wanted to get one too, how quick can you guys deliver today? Or are you guys backed up like everybody else is?
Yeah, so we are backed up a little bit. To be very open, which is a good kind of bad, you know, for a gear company. However, we have, you know, we took some lessons from last year, and you know, we've got things lined up going into this season, and we're expecting to have batches coming in on a very regular cadence. We expect to have vests back in stock, you know, by the end of this month. And so that's going to give everybody plenty of time before the season, right? And then, you know, frequent batches after that. So we're hoping this year that we'll be able to kind of meet the demand that really overwhelmed us last year. You know, huntredi.com. That's HUNTREDI.com. So huntredi.com. That's where you can pick one up. And if you have any questions at all, guys, reach out to us. There's email on the website. Check out our social media feed on Instagram. And just let us know if you have any questions, and we'd love to help you and get you out into the field this year in one of our rigs. Brian, appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast, man. Thank you.
Hey, no problem, man. A big apologies to both of you guys for having to dedicate twice the time to do this.
It's all good, man. It's part of it.
Yeah, it was a bad test run with some internet software that I still don't know that I'm going to use. This form works too well, man. You know, but well, I really appreciate. Oh, go ahead.
Just send us a few coordinates for some sharp tails. We call it even, man.
Oh, goodness.
I really hope that I can find some sharp tails that are, you know, outrun us, and I miss a few, and my dogs get bored with that I can give you some coordinates on.
No, good,
honestly,
man.
I'm the type of guy that if I'm going out and I find them, you know, I'm willing to share. I'm not the.
No, I'm all good, man. We are more than willing to put the boot leather in. That's part of the journey, and totally wish you the best of luck on the podcast. And you know, that's a journey too.
Same to you guys, man.
Forward.
I'm gonna pick up one of these vests for my trip out west. So I will.
Thank you.
Back to the real quick to wrap up. You know, Jared, sorry to steal this question from you, Heath, but can people put this in on put an order in for back order right now and kind of get on the waiting list?
Or
Are you guys just kind of holding off on taking orders?
Yeah, I think, we want to, we've done that in the past. That's kind of a pre-order scenario when we first launched. And I think our strategy with what Heath's talking about, we're going to be able to meet the demand much more adequately this year. And even if we do happen to run low on stock or something, the frequency and by which product's going to continue to show up this year is just, even if there is something so low, it's going to be like, probably a very short time span, the way that we're kind of figuring things out right now. So if we get there, we may do something like that. I'm just not anticipating getting there. We're really stocking up for the season. So I think we're going to be in a good spot and people are going to be out there. And I think the good thing is if it says, in stock on the website, that means there's a product in inventory, and generally we're getting it out to you in 2 to 3 business days, and you're going to have it in hand. So we've definitely tried to get the product out to people just as quickly as possible. We understand, sometimes, things happen or a hunt pops up out of nowhere and you go, oh man, I need some gear. We kind of ran into that last year and we had it. I mean, we bend over backwards to get it in people's hands because we know how important it is to, have the right gear for your hunt. So, but yeah, I'm not anticipating anything at all. Like, COVID was a challenge, I think, for everybody. Like just besides the normal challenges of everyday life, but then you got the supply chain issues, which seem to have a rippling effect through just about every industry. I mean, you can't even, I'm just shocked right now. You look at, car lots and there's no cars on them anymore. It's just, everything's barren around here. So it's strange times, but I think we've kind of mitigated some of the challenges, and I think we're poised well going into this upcoming hunting season.
Right on. Well, I am really looking forward to sharing a field with you guys if we can make it work and getting one of these vests on. So I won't take any more of your vacation time, Heath. Get back to pina coladas with the family.
Yeah, get back to it, man.
Yeah, well, let's
all right, guys.
Let's check in here, in the next couple weeks, and then let me know when you guys get those back in stock, and I'll make sure to get an order in right away.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks again.
All right,
thanks,
you guys
Brian.
have a good night.
Appreciate it.
You too. See you, man.
Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Amazing Outdoors podcast. Remember, if you're going to take something from the land, be willing to put something back. Also, please get your order into Jason so you can take advantage of the 20% off discount code Amazing at Upland Outfitters so you can get your pants before hunting season starts. Be relentless, man. Also, if you're looking to get out and do a little muskie fishing, look me up. I've got a few openings here over the next couple weeks. Smallmouth bass, topwater, the whole 9 yards, St. Croix River, beautiful. Follow me on Instagram at Amazing_outdoors. We'll catch you guys soon, and check out the Patreon page.